Yes, it is.
You were just talking to Jayha right before this, my girl.
Yes.
So,
And she's
very
sorry
lucky
she
to be
missed
in her
you.
company.
Oh,
She's
we know.
one of the best.
Wow. How
This
do you
is-
know Jayha? Let's hear that.
Yeah.
So I met her in Nashville. She's always been legendary, great musician, brass player, singer. But it was during the pandemic that we finally got to collaborate together musically because Marcus King was holding a 4-day virtual concert where he invited me, Sierra Farrell, Jennifer Hartswick, Billy Strings, like all these great musicians to put together. I think it was called it was something card themed, and she was singing "What a Night" by Dr. John. And
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty great. So I didn't even try to suppress my desire to immediately go up to her and fangirl and tell her how much I liked her. And we've been friends ever since. I had her on my podcast, Salute the Songbird, and I had her sing some BGVs.
I missed that one. I'm going back.
It's a really good episode. In fact, I think it was the second of the entire series.
Okay, so that's probably why, because the earlier catalog.
Yes, so first season, and she's so smart, easy to talk to, so I think she's probably one of the reasons that I caught the bug for the podcast, because when you have guests like that,
It's so.
you're like, oh, this
you
is
too.
really fun.
You too. Yeah.
I had so much fun with you guys.
So much fun.
Yeah.
It was a blast. I just want you to know, after we hung up, just our jaws were like, what had just happened? How did we get so fortunate to like connect like that so deep? And it was just kind of like with Jayha. It was, but a different vibe. Like we talked about stuff that was completely different, but it was like, I want to get her here. I want her to come to Portland. I want to give her treatment. I want to hang out.
I feel like seeing you in person, it was like seeing a long time old friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, we get to do this in real life.
Like a family
We got to do it
reunion.
virtually, but now we
And
all
I'm glad to be able to look back there and see Austin sitting back there
Yeah.
too. Can't
What's
wait
up,
to give you a
Austin?
hug afterwards
My hubby.
too, man.
yes.
Yeah.
It's a weird. We were just talking about this with Jen. Like, I don't know what that is. But it doesn't happen with everybody that we talk to, and
And we
it's
all have our
wonderful.
days, you
Well,
know.
fuck, yeah,
That's
true.
true.
Yeah.
You guys are kind of masters at getting to the good stuff. And even so, you will have a guest that's clammed up or not wanting to be
Yeah.
open. I don't
We had
feel,
one
I
recently.
definitely never felt that with you all. Oh, you did?
Well, no,
yeah.
we
What a bitch.
oh, it wasn't.
It was tough, man.
He was actually sweet. I think that
Just wasn't used to talking.
Yeah, he was definitely more not the interview side, and just wasn't as open because I think maybe
Wait.
his medium is music.
Yes.
You know.
I think a lot of musicians say, I feel this way about like even anything going on in the world politically. Music is where I feel like I can be most didactic. It's hard to kind of just speak casually about things that invoke a lot of passion.
Yes.
But I feel like when you have music and lyrics to kind of help get the message across.
Softens the blow.
Yeah.
You know, that statement is so true, but then how do we really get past those hard issues? Because like right now, we are all walking on eggshells with somebody that we know, or a group of people, or in our life, because we're just in that situation. But talking heals stuff, because when you bring things up to the surface, it like shows the light. And
Yeah.
so then can be like dialogue, but these days it seems as if it's only one or the other dialogue, that in between is kind of taken out.
Right.
And so through these conversations is kind of our way of
Yes.
maintaining that we can go like, yeah, we're talking about your album, let's talk about, and then we're like, oh, we're talking about your closet. You know, do you remember that? We were talking about your wardrobe and how feeling weird during the pandemic, like looking at our clothes, like, well, what's all these festival clothes? There's not even festivals going
You
on.
guys
What-
look great.
right?
Everyone looks damn
Yes.
good. But that's why I love the podcast, like what you guys do, and with Salute the Songbird. It's a long form conversation. It can meander a little bit. It's very jammy, you know, like you can agree to disagree, and it's better than just like 140 characters in a tweet with no
Yes.
no opportunity to respond or engage or even like read body language. Even if we don't agree about something, there's still like something you can feel from someone's energy as you're
That's
talking
the
to
difference.
them.
That's what I was going to say, is that the tweet is impersonal. There's no,
hate it.
there's
No one's good at
There's
it.
no
There's
inflection.
it's
There's no
faceless.
inflection of emotion.
There's no soul
Yeah.
Oh,
in
yeah.
that.
Yes.
Even if it's the most heartfelt, vehement, opinionated, whatever, there's no soul in that. When you look in somebody's eyes and feel their energy and see their body language and hear their voice, it's a completely different animal than that.
Yeah.
And I kind of fell in love with podcasting accidentally. Like, I was a huge Howard Stern fan years ago. Like, listen to Stern
Shout out
all the time.
Howard.
Love you, Howard.
And
He paved the way for a lot.
Oh,
He's done
yeah.
a lot of work on himself too.
Yeah.
It's been fun to watch.
His
Totally.
transformation.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's also funny when he makes fun of podcasts.
yeah, he still
I
gives
hear that and
Joe
I'm like,
Rogan
guilty.
shit about
He
it.
doesn't get
Guilty.
it.
I'm still gonna do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was kind of an accident. Like, I just started doing this as an outlet for myself, really. I didn't even really know what it was. I was just doing it. And found that this is what I'm supposed to be doing accidentally. And but with you already had a career. Like, you were a musician, you're busy, you're touring, you're doing all this stuff. And then you start a podcast? Like, what were you thinking?
Well, it was pandemic, right?
It was. And Osiris, our family.
Right.
I
Shout
did,
out to Osiris.
Yes.
Yeah.
Osiris family, love you. I did RJ's podcast, Past, Present, Future Live. It was a great conversation. It was at the very beginning of the pandemic, and they kind of realized, because so much of what our conversation revolved around was specifically the inequity of women in the industry, especially in my earlier career with country radio, that pushed me to my happy place where I am now. I was like, all right, I'm going to go find my people. It's soul, Americana, it's Peach Fest, it's all of that. So because our conversation revolved around that, they reached out and they wanted more female voices
We
as
need
part of the
them.
network. And I missed my musicians. I missed that interaction that you get when you come to a festival like this, and you get to, just jumped on stage with Daniel Donato, and there's all these people sitting in on different sets, and there's this camaraderie that we seek and crave as musicians, as people, that I wasn't getting, and that podcast kind of filled the void. And I thought it might be something that would only last until touring resumed, but you find a way if you love it, and
True.
and you're able to incorporate it in a way that makes sense. And I think it's made me a better musician. It gives me more perspective. It makes me feel more connected to even people who have really established careers, who in my eyes I think, oh, they've got no problems, everything's gravy for them. It's not. It's like, even Melissa Etheridge has stuff she's dealing with, and we just had our conversation recently, and it's nice to not feel alone.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you probably get the same thing. One thing we love, we call it therapy.
Yeah.
Doing when we're traveling or something and we miss doing like an interview or something, it's kind of a hole there. But the thing we love the most, like when we talk to you, we loved your music. Then we got to sit down and talk with you. Then we got a chance to love you and know you as a person. And then, like Aaron said it earlier too, like then you're rooting for like your friend.
Yeah.
I already loved you as a performer,
sister,
but then we
really.
get to know you as a
Amen.
person. Like you just like Melissa Etheridge. You think these people that it's like, oh, they got it made inside. And then you find out we're all just people that are all have so much in common.
And what do you think that thing is that, like, if somebody's successful, and like, especially with musicians and actors, like if they're doing well, we're like you said, that person has no problem. What are we thinking?
My dad always says this: nothing in life is easy, nothing, and problems will find you no matter what status you've achieved or echelon of success. I think it's because everything's so visible now. We all have like this platform. I don't want to condemn social media, but I do think it's kind of skewed the way that we look at people's stability in life. We're all looking at the highlight reel, and we're all in the comparison game. So we oversimplify. Someone's good, someone's not good. Someone's a victim, someone's a winner. Like, it's just not that black and white. It's so much more nuanced.
There's a lot more categories to fit people in, and everyone's forgetting that we're just humans.
Yeah.
Like gender, race, occupation, whatever. We're just people still. Like, that's the main common ground, and I think that that is what's kind of like being forgotten a lot.
Human beings having a human experience.
We want to have everyone figured out right away. I think, and like that's been a problem with even how I identify what kind of music I make. If it's not easily digestible quickly, then people will say you're unfocused or you're confused, or they'll kind of lose interest, or they'll feel like
she's not being true to herself, and really you're just exploring yourself.
Kind of ties into what you're saying too about thinking people are okay.
With the genre thing, it's really tough because music has no genre anymore. It doesn't. To me, it doesn't exist. How do you put a genre on what you do? How do you put a genre on tab?
Yeah.
It's music.
Right.
That's it. I think that the genre exists for marketing, and beyond that, it's not real. It's a.
Well, people try to identify it. You know, it's not real. But like, okay, if you're trying to describe the Wiggles versus like Maggie Rose, right? Like,
yeah, here we are, all at the same place, right? I mean, it makes sense.
I've seen the Wiggles this weekend. I have. You know.
Shout out to the Wiggles.
Yeah.
I think it's part of just music evolving and the industry evolving, and genre was created out of necessity.
Yeah.
And now
we're beyond that.
You know, there's
It's
just
antiquated now.
Yeah. Look at the lineup at this festival.
Oh my gosh.
The Wailers.
It's wild.
That's why I say now my favorite
And
music is live music.
It all belongs. Right. Yeah. That's my
Live
favorite
music
genre.
is what it's all about.
Live
I don't
music.
care what genre it is. If you are up there and you are awesome, you know, rap, this, whatever. If you're up there, you're making me feel emotion and move.
Yeah.
Live music. That's the genre.
Wow.
It's
right
true.
on, Apple.
It's true.
Well said, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a first.
Damn.
Oh, man. No, I'm
Apple
just
catches
messing
no breaks from Aaron. Just
No.
FYI, guys.
110% all the time.
Yeah, that's why we're brothers. Oh.
You know, we've been talking a lot about Peach Fest, obviously, this weekend and the 10th anniversary, and why. Well, this is our first Peach.
Oh.
Yeah.
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 And so,
Not our
This is
last.
my second.
Not
so
our last.
I'm not
for
saying
sure.
that I'm like,
You're an old veteran.
yeah.
oh, really? Only your
I've
first,
seen
huh?
some things.
Those wagon races,
No,
Maggie.
I was here in 2018. We played on the Mushroom stage, and I brought my parents. And
What did
my
Mom
parents
and
were
Dad
like,
think?
one guy was dressed as like a giant nug, like just a big, covered in green moss. Another girl was like wearing a giant mushroom hat and hula hooping a flashing hula hoop, and my parents were like, we really like your new direction. These people are wonderful. There's so much love
yeah.
here.
That's
and
sweet.
They had the best time ever, and I feel like if I was gonna, there's just baptism by fire.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I literally was just like, this is what I'm doing now, Mom and Dad, and this is how you're gonna figure it out. And they loved it. So it was kind of a very, cathartic. It felt like a formative moment for my parents, who've always been supportive and accepting of me, to be out there watching me in that crowd and that audience and having the best time.
Aw.
So Peach has that
That's
significance.
special.
That's very
That's a good
special.
10th anniversary memory lane
Yeah.
moment.
It was
Like,
fun.
there's nothing like yesterday we had dogs in a pile here, and we had Jimmy sitting here, and then his dad was sitting right there, and it was the sweetest, cool. You could feel
Yeah.
like his cheeks must have been sore at the end, just beaming about his son and doing what he loves, killing it. Being in this type of, this is your work environment.
Yeah.
This is our job.
You know what I'm saying? That's incredible. That
Totally winning. Picked
Yeah.
the right job.
Winning.
For sure.
Yeah.
So that to me is awesome. I was gonna say when you invited your parents to come, were you nervous at all? It's like they may not really like the scene.
You know,
or...
I knew that I was gonna have a good time regardless.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching them take it in.
Aw.
At no point was I ever worried.
Concerned. Yeah.
I just was like, I'm not even gonna tell them. I'm not gonna preface
Oh,
this with
wow.
anything. I'm just gonna have them come on, and they were with us all day. We watched Trey's band with Jennifer Hartswick playing, and I just remember they had a lot of questions, but they were like beautifully, almost like childlike curiosity and wonder. Like, and now
Wow.
why is this happening? I'm like, because it's awesome. And they're like, yeah.
There is no why here.
It was just really fun.
Because it's
My
awesome.
parents are not judgmental. I would have never gotten even to where I was able to be booked at Peach if I didn't have like the most supportive folks ever. But
Aw, shout out mom and dad.
just like
Yeah.
my transition throughout music over the years has been like a lot of evolution. It's been fun to watch them grow with me by proxy, and like how their view of the world has even changed just by being my parents.
I've never thought about it from that perspective, because being a parent, you're always like really proud of your kid if they reach their marker, or graduation, marriage, children, whatever. But I never thought of it from the other side of them being proud of us and like, way to go, mom. And it's not that they don't say that, but it's not your
My
perception.
sister's like, we're having a baby. I'm like, I'm playing Peach. Like, yeah. Bonnaroo. Those are your grandchildren right now.
So, you know, you just touched on it a little bit, but like, talking about kicking in the door, this is what I'm doing now, right? Like, the jam world is, we talked to James Casey, was it yesterday?
Yesterday.
It was yesterday. Wow, it's been a long, strange trip. This one.
It's no simple road, dude.
Thanks, Apple. Wow, that's terrible.
I got the dad joke this time.
You did.
I liked it.
But he said, coming from the hip hop world and the
R&B.
R&B world, that the jam scene was protective. That he didn't want to say it was exclusionary, but that it was protected. It was a gatekeeping, and that once he broke through that, he found the love and the acceptance and the support and everything that's wonderful about our scene. And I'm just wondering what your perspective is coming from where you came from into this, and what your reception has been like and your experience.
I think he nailed it in how he said that. There's a bond. You know, I think the jam scene, which is also experiencing some wonderful evolution in itself, they all have very big ears. If you get on stage, like Apple said, and you give a shit about what you're doing and that passion resonates, then I think they are... forgiving is not even the right word. They will celebrate you. You got to show up with intention. You take it. You honor them in the audience, and they will honor you back. And I think you have to be good live. There's that. So that is where I think the exclusion should remain. I think you need to have a certain standard of quality of live performance to be able to play for this audience. But that is how I've felt embraced, I think, just by having respect for live music and for each other, and it's a very symbiotic thing that the artist is doing with their audience.
Well, it makes sense with you. This is your home. Like,
I love it.
It just makes sense, and I just hate to hear that. I hate to hear that anybody feels left out, or that they have a barrier to entry, or because
I think it's okay to have a fan base that's so musically inclined. I think that it's okay to have a desire for your musician in front of you to be striving for excellence. I think that there is also like the most loving, accepting crowd. Like some of my songs have had these messages in them, and for some reason they were a little bit more prevalent to me singing to this audience. I was like, oh, this line actually is really hitting home to me today because I know like what the spirit of this crowd is. And it renewed some of these lyrics to me.
I have never thought about that. Like, obviously we're coming and we're having our experience at these shows and doing our thing, and the lyrics that we're hearing change for us based on our perception and where we're at in the day and how whatever. But like, I never thought that for an artist it could do the same thing. It never crossed my mind.
When you have an audience like the one that comes to Peach, so intently listening and looking out for each other, I can see people taking care of each other out there.
I've seen that a lot here.
And I think people are inherently good most places that we go, but like it's palpable here. And a line will go by that I'm just kind of like, oh, that one is just shining a little bit brighter today because like I just know I know what the vibe is here, and it's a good feeling to have.
Yeah,
That's what we had our listener friend now, because we got to finally meet him in person, Patrick, who's been working the festival for 9 years up here. What he goes, I never even have to look at the lineup. He's all, that's the kind of festival that they curate the best music, the best artists, the most supportive of each other. So yeah, I don't even know who's on the lineup. It's all going to be spectacular every time.
Maggie, where are you playing any more? Are you done?
Well, sit-ins, right?
Yes, I'm gonna be sitting in with Talk later, which is we got to meet at summer camp, and that was really fun. It was a huge shot of energy, and they're just amazing. And I'm also gonna be doing like a little VIP acoustic concert, much earlier than Talk. Talk's a little later tonight.
Okay.
We have all the lights going
And all the music festival stuff aside, how you doing?
I'm okay. I feel really lucky that touring has resumed at the pace that it has. I am a road dog again. I feel like I live out on the road. We've been pretty much working since March, and it's surreal. There's a renewed sense of gratitude. I'm finishing up my 4th album. Actually, next week we're going to cut the remaining songs. And it just kind of feels like at this point, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I just have to make sure that I'm approaching it in a way that it's sustainable for me and my band and our health and our family. And that's just something to keep in mind. But
what does that mean? Like as far as like sustainability and health?
Yeah, what does that look like in
action? What does it look like?
I was talking to my husband this morning, and I think it's like a lot of it is just training your mind to practice gratitude and focus on positivity and
amen to that.
Have some consistency there and know that that is in your power, and also that this is a service we are providing for people who are dealing with all the same difficulties that the world is presenting us. And it's like, that is our bond, and it's a gift, it's an honor, and I think it's a call that I intend to answer for a long time. But you just got to take care of yourself.
When you wake up at 7:30 and you didn't go to sleep until 2, and you've got to be on the road. You've got to be on the road, in 25 minutes, and you haven't eaten, and all. It's stopping to say, I don't have to do this. I get
Following
to.
Me?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, same thing
happened
we
to us.
did.
But it's stopping and saying, I don't have to do this. I get to do this.
Exactly. Exactly. And what a harsh reminder 2020 was.
Oh.
I get to travel with my band, who I adore each one of them. Their talent is only surpassed by just the good-natured spirit of all of them. And I travel with my husband, and yesterday I had a day off with my parents and my sister, and like it's just little moments like that where you're like, it's unbelievable. It's the dream, and
like the nectar of
being
life.
content and wanting what you have instead of wanting everything that you want.
Yeah.
I think that's
Wow.
the difference.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, definitely do that. Clap for that. That's a lot.
Well, this
Took
is
a minute
why
to learn.
That's
I have
hard.
to say, this is why I love doing this. Is like those. If I had my journal, I would have been writing. But there's these little nuggets where we say these one-liners, and it can be brain food for the rest of the week. Wow, that statement fell on me like a ton of bricks, and it can literally change how you do things from now on. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, man. It's tough though, like in the moment.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I'm not a master. I just said the advice. I need to take it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
I know what to do. I didn't say always do it.
Yeah.
But I think that like having the opportunity to come here, and this is for all of us, like having the opportunity to come here and do this, be with each other and do the thing, like it's a reset. And in those moments when you're tired or you're hungry or you're annoyed that you have to get up and go to work or whatever it is, like try and remember this. You know what I'm saying? Like just try and remember for a minute that you have a house, you got, and even taking it to those like base things, it's important. And we get to be here. Like that's huge. You woke up this morning, okay, but that's a big deal. Some people didn't.
Yeah.
And we have the opportunity to be together and share community and conversation and food and so much good stuff. But it's those moments when you're grumpy or you're tired that you lose sight of all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
We're allowed too. Yeah. We're allowed to get pissed off and grumpy.
You're not.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah,
babe, I am.
I remember we were just at the local little festival, and who is it? That Braden that we met. Remember that morning we were talking to him, getting to know him, and he goes, I know a dude that has no hands. He's all, I wake up every morning, I'm blessed to know him because I wake up and I'm just happy to be alive and look at my hands. Like a little thing like that. He was like, I'm just, so many people, and we do. It doesn't matter how good you got it. You get down some days.
Yeah.
But things like that, we're just lucky to be alive.
Well, and like Maggie said, 2020 was a stark teacher.
Yeah.
A stark teacher of like, hey, everything that you love can be gone. Remember?
Yeah. So what do you do with yourself?
And who are you, by the way?
Yeah, that was a big one.
What's important to you?
That was a big one with 2020. It was like the identity crisis of.
Who did you find out that you were, Maggie?
I think I found out that I was someone who needed to create some boundaries about just that.
Yeah.
I was like, if I'm not a performer, then who am I? And I was maybe a little too wrapped up into like the overlap of what I do being who I am. And it was cool to confront some of those other things that make me a valuable person, part of society, that don't have everything to do with what I've chosen to do for a living. Although it is a profound part of who I am and what makes me happy is just that connection.
You embody it, but like seriously.
Well, Mel, you guys do too, and I think the outreach that you continued to do with the podcast and all of the work that I got to do in that same space was really important for my own self-perception.
Yes.
Talking to other people and researching what they do and what makes them tick and how hard they've been working and how they are struggling with it made me it was a good mirror. Yeah,
the identity thing was rough. Me too, big time. And when you and I talked about this on the podcast, but like when you open up your closet and all you have is stage clothes, or all I have is like band t-shirts and there's nothing going on, it's like, who am I wearing this shit for? What am I even doing? Like,
this is what I wear on Sunday during the pandemic.
And
every day's pajama day.
On the back end of it, it's really kind of beautiful, man, because I let a lot of stuff go that I didn't serve me and didn't make sense. And if that hadn't happened, I would have never understood that.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. I mean,
Retweet. We don't like Twitter, but I retweet that 100%.
So the silver lining of all of that was that we got to be able to find our more
compass.
I don't want to say it, like, just like our evolved self. Really, it's our evolved self. We got to like let go of the things, like you said, that either weren't serving you or that just got old. You know, sometimes like bread gets old. You just got to get rid of it. And sometimes we hang on to stuff or feelings or memories. They're just old. They don't need to be there anymore. And because we had so much headspace during the pandemic, forced headspace, you were forced to think about your childhood or your parents or whatever, and either let go or keep swimming in it. And I think a lot of people chose to let it go. And this is why we're here.
And now we're having a renaissance.
Lighthearted. You know, we are.
What we're seeing now too, which like you said when we talked to you, is everybody finding time is the toughest thing to do sometimes. And all of a sudden we're handed all this time, and now we're seeing the effects of that with all of the artists coming back to the stage, us getting to come out and see them. Of everything, everybody we talked to through it was like, I did so much writing. I had this project I've been wanting to work on for years, but I'm on the road most of the year. All of a sudden, everybody got a timeout. Got to check things, shed some stuff off, and it was like a renewal. Yeah. And now like this, we're seeing this at these festivals. It's amazing, the energy of all of us and all of the art, like all of it together, the energy now, because we now know it's fragile. Much more fragile. Aaron always says, hey, I just thought, it was like a right to go see stuff. Right? It's a privilege. And we're all realizing that and how fragile it is. Yep. So, yes, brother.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
It is a privilege.
I wanted to say something really quick, too, because this is pertinent to No Simple Road. Like, in a very indirect way, the revivalists had a huge impact on us starting to go see shows again. And so creating that love for that scene and the community. And we came in last night and caught the Revivalist set, and they had never seen the Revivalist. I'd seen him in Nashville in a small little spot, and it blew my mind. I hadn't seen live music like that. I'd been to concerts, but I'd never seen live music like that. And it awakened something in me that was like, I need to be around this. I didn't know, but I just knew so I came back home and I was like, Aaron, we need to start going to concerts. And then that's all I needed to say.
That was his favorite thing to hear, by the way.
Yeah. But then last night, being in between these two, dancing and realizing that the Revivalists revived something, and then also their set was so reviving and kind of like ushering Trey and Goose in. It was like the most magical moment.
I went and tapped Mel on the shoulder and I was like, hey, those guys are responsible for us standing here right now.
I love that.
They really are.
Well, I love that we've done a bunch of shows with them, and David Shaw is a buddy, and he's like an absolute rock star.
Yeah, totally.
Like, talk about a mentally fit person too. Like he's like laser focused on what he wants to do with his career, how he wants to connect with his fans. The whole crew could not be nicer people, so welcoming to me and my band every time we're there. But like, they have a fan base that is, I've seen a lot of people perform and how they connect.
Yeah.
Like, that is a rabid fan base, and there's a special sauce there that
He's special.
Yeah, they all really connect, but I think it's because they have a lot of humility, they have a lot of talent, and they do that thing that we were talking about with honoring their fans. And every show, regardless of size or audience capacity, is just killer with them.
And his voice is unparalleled.
I wish I'd seen you guys dancing last night and that I was with you.
It was a sight to behold, let me tell you.
The Revivalist all the way through Goose. So I realized this morning, it was like we danced for 6 hours straight, non-stop, even in between breaks.
Mel goes,
playing music.
how do you feel, Aaron? And I was like I did 4.5 hours of aerobics. A little exhausted.
what you got on your Apple Watch there.
It was last night was something special, man.
It was.
This festival. I'm in awe. I really
Have you done
am.
the zip line yet?
No, we're gonna do that.
we're-
They were like, "Oh, we're gonna leave and go get lunch." I was like, "You guys can leave me here. I'm going on the freaking gondola. I'm going on that slide. I'm
It's-
having fun."
it's
I worked hard.
Not to be missed.
I know.
I
Thank you.
had in 2018 my show. I went up the ski lift and did an interview, and I was like, "My set is starting in like 15 minutes. I need to get down there fast." And the only way that I could get down there in a timely manner was on the zip line. I've never
I didn't
zip
hear
lined
about
into a show before.
Oh,
I was like, if only.
Talk
only
about
this,
rock
like,
star.
Landed right on the mushroom stage. That would have been pretty badass. But
With a double flip.
instead, I just was like coming in hot. My hair was like up in the air, and I was like, let's do this.
Yes. Oh,
You gotta do
Maggie,
the
thank you so
superhero
much.
pose when you
Like,
land.
Well, wait,
You're
th-
rad.
You're the best. I love you guys.
That's the first we heard about the zip line. We knew about the gondola, which we
yeah.
missed every day because we waited too late. But there's a zip line also.
Well, there was in 2018.
Okay.
And it was very scary. I consider myself pretty adventurous, and if I didn't have enough adrenaline cooking up because of the impending show, then that got me there. So
Right
Well,
it was a great warm up.
That is a
I screamed the whole way down.
Of course you did. I would too.
Were you like, "Ooh!"
Yeah. The most beautiful scream you've ever heard.
No, it was not.
Everybody's like, it's Maggie.
I spared my audience that auditory pleasure.
Well, I think that is a perfect fine point to put on Peach with
Let's go
Maggie Rose
ziplining into the rest of our
ziplining.
lives.
Zip line
everybody.
into life like
Yeah.
Maggie.
We love you guys. Thanks for watching. If you watch, and you guys, we
Thank
love
you,
you,
guys.
man.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Happy Peach.
Yep, happy Peach.